Good. I'm glad you finally found one.
Rob and I talk about an hour a day on the phone. I like that guy.
And what do you say?
We just talk about junk. We make fun of everybody. We goof on everyone.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah, but we talk though. We also talk seriously.
You'll tire of that.
You think so?
Yes.
We have a good time though. It's not like we set out to talk for an hour. I say, hey Rob, what's going on, and then all of a sudden.
Trust me, you've had these relationships before.
Yeah.
Ralph must be jealous.
I spent all day with Ralph. I'm trying to now. Ralph's been a big problem. I'm going on a promotional tour.
Yeah.
And wherever Ralph goes, he alienates people. It's usually the celebrity that alienates people.
But it's your
Ralph.
people.
Yeah, we're having a problem with him. So
what did he do the other night at the screening?
I don't know what happened.
Baba Booey got into it.
Ralph and I were out yesterday. We had to go to a store, and I brought up Gary's name, and he goes, "I hate him. I hate him." And I know Gary hates Ralph.
Yeah, what is going on with them?
I don't know, but they've tried to get along. But everyone gets into fights with Ralph. What is it? I've been trying to get Ralph on the phone or something. Yeah, but what is it, Senator John? What happened?
They were fighting because me and Robin, Ralph, and my fiance came together to the screening.
Yeah.
And then Ralph tried to save...
Hold on. Wait, we get Ralph on the phone because Ralph said, hey, if you're going to talk about this...
You know what, something, Howard?
I know he really is mad.
A major jackass. And you could line up people from here to eternity.
That's what I've been saying. I don't have a problem with Ralph. Seriously, let me just say something. I don't have a problem with Ralph, right? But everyone is complaining.
I've never complained about Ralph.
Right,
Ralph
you like him, right?
Bother me. I like Ralph.
But Ralph wouldn't bother you.
Yeah, because he's afraid to bother you.
He's afraid of you.
And you don't have to work with him.
You and Howard are the only two people in the world he's not afraid of. Other than that, he is not afraid to impose or just be a jackass to anyone else.
Because I'm trying to get to the bottom of this.
Publicist for your movie.
Yeah.
You're a limo driver.
Right.
Anybody on the E crew. Anybody on my crew.
Really?
Eventually, he is so abrasive. Eventually, he's going to rub them the wrong way.
And I keep saying to him, what do you do wrong? He goes, I swear to you, I don't know. Because I see him at photo shoots and stuff. He behaves. He seems to. And then after the photo shoot, they hate him.
I'm telling you, whenever Ralph's with me, he's fine. I leave the room. I come back. He's already had a fight, and it's over by the time I get back.
Our argument the other night.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, this started a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
He blows into the office and starts ordering the interns. He wants the interns to go bring something back to Barney's that belongs to you.
Right.
And I said that, listen, I've got interns here, but that's not really their job. That's what you allegedly get paid to do.
Right.
So he says, well, I don't have time. I have to go to Howard's house and do something. Well, P.S., 2 hours later, he's just hanging around the office doing nothing.
Right.
So he could have brought it back, but he didn't because he's Ralph, and Ralph doesn't go to Barney's to return stuff.
Right.
So then a couple of weeks later, at the screening the other night, I put this whole screening together.
Right. It was a screening for the people in the movie.
The truth is, it was a screening for Robin, Jackie, Fred, myself, and John.
Right.
Everyone else that got invited was because we wanted to have more people there, but it was really for us to just see it.
Right.
So I was very nervous because I wanted everybody. We had packed the house. There were 70 seats.
Right.
We invited 69 people.
Right.
So I asked them to tape off 2 rows because I was afraid that, like, Robin might get there a little late or the owner of the company might get there a little late, and I didn't want them to not have good seats.
And the point was that you could have had an empty screening and just for the 5 of you, and you were saying, hey, we're screening off, we're taping off 2 rows so that these people could see the film.
So Jackie, Fred, myself, and Tom, and all our wives were at dinner. I left early because I wanted to get to the screening room to make sure. I wanted this to go perfect. I didn't want anybody to walk in.
Right, you want to have an enjoyable experience. After all, everyone is excited.
So I know Jackie and Fred and everybody are on their way, and I know I got these rows taped off. So then I see Ralph.
Well, where is Ralph? Is he on the phone or not?
I tried. I tell him all the time. His answer machine picks up.
Yeah, he turns over.
All right. That's another annoying thing.
So I get there, and Ralph's already, like, behind the tape. He's decided that he belongs being in there, which is fine. That's okay.
Okay.
I had gone in there.
So he's sitting in the taped-off section.
Well, he's walking around it. He's socializing.
Scoping it out, yeah.
So Stuttering John's girlfriend is sitting there. So I decide that my wife and I are going to sit next to Stuttering John, so I leave a seat empty, and I take my jacket, and I put it on the seat. I don't, drape it over the seat. I put it, on the seat, like this is where I will be sitting.
Right.
I walk away for 2 minutes. My jacket is thrown, 8 seats down. My wallet's, hanging out of it because my wallet's inside. He just, must have taken it and tossed it.
Right.
So I said, Ralph, what are you doing? I'm going to sit here. And he goes, the seats are for Robin. I said, Robin is...
Right, and now he's Robin's representative.
Right. I saw Robin was, in the back row where there were actually bigger, nicer seats, and Robin didn't appear to have a problem with seating. It looked like you were going to sit somewhere. But Ralph has now decided he's going to... And Howard, it's a completely...
And who made him Robin's representative?
Nobody ever talked to me about this.
It's a completely empty row.
Right.
So
he's going to assert himself.
The only people sitting in the row are my jacket and John's girlfriend.
Right.
But he decides that where my jacket is where he needs to sit.
Right.
So I said, he goes, I said, what are you doing? So then he starts to give me a hard time. I said, Ralph, just calm down. He goes, what do you got to be like that for, man? I said, hey, who invited you behind the velvet ropes? Get out.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you shouldn't even be here.
Right.
So then he starts really getting mad. Now he's like yelling at me. He's like, you're an a-hole, man. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I can't believe like this is going to be the most exciting night for me.
Right.
And I'm arguing with Ralph over where I can sit.
Right.
So this goes on, and we had a really big argument. We called each other a lot of names, and I really wanted to hit him for the first time ever.
Right.
So he walks away, and he tells me that I'm on a power trip. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself,
it's all going on right in the theater.
Yeah,
right.
And I'm thinking,
did anybody get it on film?
So
yeah, right.
So I'm thinking to myself, I always hate, like, I don't want to come across as one of those people who's on a power trip. And I always, whenever anybody says that to me,
you don't sound like you were on a power trip.
I want to, like, I take a step back and I say to myself, now, was I just wrong? Was I inappropriate? And at that exact moment, while I'm thinking that, Scott Einziger, who was sitting right in front of the whole thing, goes, I just heard the whole thing, and I cannot believe you have to deal with that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I want Ralph to hear this because
the only misunderstanding is that Ralph came with me and Robin, and he just assumed that we would all sit together.
Yeah, but there's an attitude you can have. You can be cooperative and see that someone's code is there.
Hey, whose code is this? Gary, I came with John. Do you mind if I sit with you guys? I said, yeah, I'll move it down a couple of seats.
Right.
But
it could have.
But throwing the code.
Attitude.
He threw the code.
See, now he claims that he has a whole other side to this story. But, you know.
I couldn't even get him to talk about it that night. I mean, he was just cursing and fuming when I walked back in. I was like, what is going on? He goes, Gary's such a dick, you know, and that's all I could get out of
Ralph is, we've all decided this, a bunch of us were discussing him the other day. Ralph is on a star trip, but he's not a star.
Right.
He's on a star trip. He wants first-class treatment. He wants to go to the front of the line wherever he goes. He wants to be treated like a god.
Right.
He has spent way too much time hanging around with you.
Right.
He wants treatment that even sometimes you don't even get.
Right. Well, all right.
I think what happens is when he's with you, all of that stuff is happening, and he doesn't understand why it's not happening.
Why does it stop happening? Right. Why does it stop happening? You got to get him on the phone.
I just talking about it makes my blood boil. But I was so angry at him.
Right.
And then like a half an hour later, my wife's going, "You were really good in the movie. You know, I'm so proud of you." And I'm just going, "I hate Ralph. I can't believe he did that to me."
Yeah.
He ruined my night.
He ruined your night.
He really did.
Yeah. And then Ralph tells me he couldn't even watch the movie because he was freaking out so much.
Are you kidding?
Yeah. He has to see it again because he was so annoyed by Gary. But I said, Ralph, you get into these things way too much with everybody.
Well, that's the one thing. The common denominator is everybody's fighting with Ralph.
And Ralph doesn't understand. Like, Ralph never stopped to think for one moment that he was a guest at that screening.
Right.
In Ralph's mind, that screening was for him.
Right.
You know, he should have said to himself, "Hey, all right, man, if you want to sit there, I'll move." Or he never stops to explain anything.
Right.
And he shouldn't even be where he is half the time.
Oh, here's Ralph. You cannot use the F... Gary, Ralph, you can't use the F word on the air. Get your head together.
Yeah, you jerk.
What's the matter with you? You can't do that. Calm down.
And Ralph, of course, I'm the only one who thinks you're a jerk. Of course, I'm the only one who thinks you're a jerk. The line of people.
Wait, why don't you let Ralph explain his side?
Why don't you shut up for 2 minutes?
Well, why don't you explain yourself, you moron?
I don't have to explain myself to you.
Of course you don't, because you're Ralph. You're Ralph the God.
Yeah, right. That's it, Gary.
Well, Ralph, explain what happened.
Jealous, Gary.
Ralph,
why don't you just
jealous
get
of
over
what?
it already? You're such a little baby.
Oh yeah, I'm a baby.
Yeah, Gary.
Ralph, don't you realize the entire world hates you? You realize you're hated by all.
Hello?
Did he hang up?
Yeah.
What's wrong with him?
Ralph is a big pussy.
Yeah.
Listen to it reverberate in your radio, you big fag.
Oh, my goodness.
I told you, these two guys went at it the other night. And Ralph yesterday was just screaming the whole time about Gary.
Anything that Ralph attends, any meeting that he attends, it's just trouble.
Wow.
Howard, if it were just he and I fighting...
Yeah.
Right? You might think that there's personality conflict, which, by the way, there is.
Right.
But if it were just he and I fighting, you might...
Well, you guys were getting along for a while, weren't you?
Yeah, when Ralph
like
makes...
a truth.
You know what happens? Ralph makes an effort to be a human. And everybody talks about this. Ralph really... The truth of the matter is, Ralph, there's a good guy hiding underneath all that. He really is a good guy.
I have a great relationship with him.
And for the most part, he wants to be okay. But it's almost like it's like a disease. It's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He can't help himself.
Right.
You know, sooner or later, he's going to do something to make the other shoe drop.
Sheesh.
I would have liked to have heard Ralph's side of it.
Why won't he come on the phone?
Because he can't use the F word.
Yeah, he had to open up with the F word.
Where is he?
Sounds like there's a lot of witnesses against him.
But it's not even just this. We're not talking about the coke.
Here is Ralph. All right, Ralph, calm down.
I won't say a word.
Don't. All right, good. Let Ralph have his side of the story. Hi, Ralph.
Hiding underneath all what, Gary? Why do you have it? You've had it in for me since day one. I have tried with you to get along.
Can I explain to you why
I had made more of an effort with you in my life than I ever have with anybody to get along.
Can I explain why I had it in
you still don't accept it.
Can I explain it?
Yeah.
Because from day one, you walked in like you owned the station. You wanted to be the producer of the show. You never listened to anybody. When you first started working with us on the E! Show, you would like walk in. You would be in the studio when you're almost supposed to be in there. I'm not talking about on-air stuff. I'm talking about like I have to talk to Howard during the breaks because that's my only chance to tell him what's going on. And you would be in there. You would interrupt. You felt that, suddenly you playing with Howard Taylor was more important than me producing the show.
In other words, Gary has to be respected as the producer.
No, Gary, I never made that determination. I mean, I might have an agenda and go forward with it, but that's not being.
Okay, so you weren't able to recognize that you were getting in the way. And then when I told you, you felt like I had a.
Does that make me a terrible?
The S word, Ralph.
Problem.
Hold a second. I got to stop you guys. Ralph, did you just say the S word?
Yes.
Calm down.
No, it doesn't make you a terrible person that you have your own agenda. It makes you a terrible person when you have this agenda and then somebody tries to get you to recognize that maybe you got to change things and you become so resistant.
Now, Ralph, what happened?
Abrasive.
What happened the other night at the screening?
What happened? I'm getting Gary, you got me sick because I've been so upset about this the last 2 days.
Did you get Ralph sick?
Yeah, and I was working on it.
What, you got a voodoo doll?
Yeah.
Are you smoking weed?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I can't even explain that now because I'm just so pissed off.
Well, calm down and try.
I walked in. I don't know what Gary's got, what Gary's agenda is and his whole setup over there. I walk in there. Okay, all right. Let me start. I'll start from there. I walk in. I'm just walking around talking to people. Hold on a minute.
All right.
Hold on. He's got to go see who's on call waiting while we're talking to him.
Oh, so annoying.
Who was that?
I don't know. Just hung up on him.
More or less annoying than you.
Okay.
So you walk in.
There's a couple.
I'm trying to help you because people find you annoying. I'm trying to help you.
Okay. I'm trying to talk here.
Do you understand anything of what Gary said that he found annoying?
Yes, I do.
All right. Okay, go ahead. So you weren't aware of his agenda. You walk in.
Okay. I walk in.
You're looking for seats.
I'm waiting for Robin's chatting. I came in with John and Susanna and Robin. We all had dinner. We were hanging out together. So John and Susanna go sit down, and I'm waiting for Robin. Polite thing to do. We came together. I thought we'd sit and watch the movie together. So there's a couple rows that are taped off. And I'm standing there. I'm talking to Don. I'm talking to some other people. Don goes to me, go sit down there, and he says, go behind the tape and sit in that row. Or there were like 2 rows taped off. I don't know exactly which row it was. Okay. I said, okay. I said, I'm just waiting for Robin. So I'm sitting there and I'm waiting for Robin. She's chatting away, and John and Suzanne are sitting there, and Scott Einziger and all those people sitting over there. So I wanted to go say hi. So I go over the velvet ropes. Meanwhile, it's a piece of stupid masking tape, and Gary's
yelling,
velvet ropes.
Velvet ropes.
It's a joke.
The velvet masking tape. So I hop over it and go talk to John and Susanna for a minute. And there's a jacket sitting next to him. Now,
is it sitting next to, or is it on? Wait a second. Is it on?
You're a liar, Gary.
Is it on the chair? Is it on the chair? Is it very obvious that someone's sitting there?
Yeah,
is it very obvious?
And I moved it over.
Did you ask any?
Seat.
No, you moved over 3 seats. Did you ever?
No, I didn't,
okay,
Gary.
Ralph, move it over a quarter of an inch.
Interrupt me?
Move it over a quarter of an inch.
Shut up?
No.
You shut up?
Did you ever
let
stop?
Ralph explain.
No,
Shut up.
Hey, don't use the F word.
You're so
Are you going to use the F word? Can you not use the F word?
I'm trying.
You were making a point, and then you exactly.
You're so illiterate. You're so not so bright that you can't use another word besides the F word.
I guess I'm stupid, Gary, just like you.
Yeah, well, we're both stupid, except I'm here and you're not you.
All right.
Well, you know what? I'm not here either.
Oh, here he goes again.
He's so bright.
I'm never going to
Such a bright
understand what
guy.
happened the other night.
Ralph was starting to explain himself, but
I could be as mad as Ralph and not use the F word. Right? I can do it, but he can't pull that off.
You conducted yourself properly. Well, then you win the argument.
He was
Gary's on pretty firm ground.
Ralph was almost making a point.
He was about to make a point.
He was almost making a point.
But he wasn't.
Even if it was no, of course not.
If you went to a movie theater and there was a coat sitting there,
right?
Would you just pick up the coat and move it?
No, but I wanted to hear. Maybe that's why he hung up. Maybe that's why he hung up.
Yeah, because Gary's on pretty solid
ground. But the thing I was saying was, Gary said it was 8 rows away. Now it's only 3 seats.
No, he threw it like 3 seats away. I didn't say it was 8 rows.
No, you said 8. You said 8 seats.
No, I said 8.
You said 8 seats. All right. In the throes of arguing, you said 8. So whatever, even if it was 1 seat, somebody had reserved a seat.
Yeah.
And it was thrown in a way.
I would have liked to finish the story. Oh, wait. Here's Ralph again. He's back. What are you going to do? You keep hanging up like a girl? Hello?
Use a different curse.
Hello?
Is he there?
I don't know. I guess maybe he's not. Hello? Yeah?
He's not picking up.
All right, well, I don't care. I wouldn't call him.
He's pouting.
He's pouting.
He's having a hissy fit.
Let's get over it.
What the heck is wrong with him? This couldn't be that big a deal.
Well,
I don't
evidently there's something he can't explain.
I care less about this argument, about winning this argument, more about how Ralph's going to explain why everyone else has a problem with him.
Well, we were getting to that. He hung up.
Oh, my goodness.
Should I be afraid? Will Ralph come here and punch me?
No, you could kick his ass.
I probably couldn't, but let me tell you something.
You don't think you could beat him up?
Ralph has admitted he's not a fighter.
He's a big guy.
Yeah, but you're a wrestler. You're a wrestler.
You're going to wrestle a guy? Boys punching in the teeth?
No, but you're a good fighter. I've seen you fight.
I'm sure you could take him.
You're not a pussy.
I wonder how he fights, but I'd be willing to fight him in some sort of...
John kicked his ass.
Did he?
Yeah. Oh, there he is. Are you going to calm down now?
Yes.
He's back. You think you could beat Gary in a fight?
At that movie screen, I could have.
No, because I was just as angry.
No, I think I would have punched you right in the head, and you would have gone right down.
I think I would have punched you right back. Oh.
Well, you know what? You are really fat, so you probably would have absorbed most of the punch.
That's right.
All right, anyway, so go ahead. So you see this coat.
And you move it over.
I move it over 1 seat.
Hey, by the way, anybody want to bet Ralph hangs up again before this conversation's over? I say he will.
$10 says he yes.
I say yes too. So.
Can I get some of that action? Up at 50, I hang up in about 2 minutes.
I know you're going to hang up.
I don't bet anything.
Yeah, because we'll get through this, and then when you explain why everyone else hates you, you'll hang up.
That's going to be the tough question.
Right.
All right, so let's go on with the story. You move it over the 1 seat, 3 seats, whatever.
There's a coat. There's a coat. And, there's an empty seat next to Susanna, and then there's a coat.
Go ahead. Let me think about that. There's an empty seat next to Susanna, and then there's a coat.
On the seat next to her. So I move the coat over 1 seat. 1 seat.
3, but okay. The 3.
1 seat.
3.
There. And then so I sit down kind of like on the armrest, and I'm talking to Robin, Redzinski, and Scott, and all the people who are sitting in the row. I'm just saying hi to everybody and chatting. Gary comes running over. And then starts yelling. I don't even remember.
I said, Ralph, why'd you move my coat? And then he immediately comes back with something that, like, how dare I ask him what he's doing? No, hey, man, I'm just moving it, man.
You gave me the attitude, like, how dare I sit down there? Who asked you to sit behind the velvet rope?
No, I asked you why you moved my coat. And why did you? Why would you? Or if you would have asked Susanna, she would have said, oh, Gary's sitting here. But you never bothered to ask because you're so selfish. You just don't care. Where you need to sit is where you need to sit.
No. I just moved the coat.
Did you ask?
I just moved the coat over.
Didn't you wonder who it belonged to?
Gary, when you came over, was I?
Ralph, did you wonder who it belonged to?
When you moved it, when you came over, was I sitting in a seat or did I just have my ass on an armrest?
Did you ass on an armrest and you moved it over like you and Robin were going to sit there and you even said as much?
Like me and Robin were going to sit there?
Did you ever ask who the coat belonged to? Did you ever think that somebody was already sitting there? Did it ever dawn on you? You're so selfish.
That's not being selfish. I just moved the coat over 1 seat. What's the big deal?
Because that's what you needed to do. It's no big deal to you because you'll end up where you want to be. It's a big deal to me because that's where I wanted to be.
You don't understand.
You don't understand anything. You have no manners.
Who are you signing with on this, Jackie?
It sounds. I'm not trying to take sides. It just sounds like Ralph's wrong here.
Because
Gary had put his coat down to sit there, and so he.
And also, it's like you shouldn't.
And he wanted to sit with Susanna and John.
And when you see some tape, maybe you shouldn't just cross over.
Howard, all you got to do is say.
It's got nothing really to do with the section.
So if Ralph had, let me ask you something, Ralph. So when Gary comes up to you and starts screaming about his coat and stuff,
he immediately puts me on the defensive.
Would you ever say?
I'm sorry.
Would you ever say to him, hey, I wasn't thinking. I didn't know you were sitting here. Would it be all right if
he would treat me with an ounce of friggin' respect and just say to me, hey, I was going to sit there.
I did say I was going to sit there. And he came back with some wise-ass response.
I was saving this. If you could be.
What happened? You said to him,
I said, hey, I was sitting there. And he came back with some wise-ass response.
I didn't see you sitting there. I see a coat there.
Yeah, duh. Don't you wonder who it belongs to? Let me tell you something. If that were Howard's coat, you'd be groveling like a pussy right now. Because it's my coat, you don't care.
Ralph, people show up in a movie, you put your coat down, you stand up to talk, and go to the bathroom. That's normal.
Gary, you always have to make that comparison. And
that's right, because you have no respect for anyone but Howard.
That is not true.
Well, then why did we ask everybody else that thinks that? publicist for the movie, Howard's limo driver, everybody that works on E. Let's get online.
Ronnie did say he has no problem with Ralph anymore.
Yeah, well,
Since when?
I don't know, recently.
Your publisher just called.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Your publisher just called to message for Gary, and I said, "Are you listening to this?" And he goes, "Ooh, I'm loving every minute of it."
Really?
I said, "Do you want to come on the air?" He goes,
"No, that would not be appropriate."
I'm a private guy.
That would not be. That would be inappropriate. This is between Gary and Ralph.
Yeah, that would be real inappropriate because we'd have a real big problem then.
He goes. He said that. He is the sand in his Vaseline.
Yeah, what's he doing with the Vaseline? I wonder.
Oh, please.
No, but Ralph, I mean, let's go back. Let's go back seriously. Take it back a step. Let's go back to when we met you at Channel 9, right?
Go ahead.
You and Dan couldn't get along well.
Gary, let's not. Let's discuss this incident.
But what is Gary's point? Are you saying that Dan and Ralph didn't get along?
Let's go back to the incident. The incident is
from day one, Ralph hasn't gotten along with anybody.
Gary, who are you claiming that Ralph doesn't get along with?
Sooner or later, he's had a run-in with everybody.
Gary,
maybe people like Dan. I'm sure likes him now, but sooner or later, he's had a run-in with everybody. Good.
Stop it.
Oh, curse. I'm still standing here.
Go ahead, Ralph.
Hang up.
The point is, let's get back to this other thing.
Okay, so Ralph,
are you accusing? Let him say something. Are you accusing Ralph of being a listener gone wild?
No, we've said that in private.
Ralph, go ahead, make your point.
No, but Ralph, here's a simple question. I want to ask you a simple question because he asked me one. The question is, did it ever dawn on you to ask who the coat belonged to, out of courtesy?
Ralph,
the silence is deafening.
I didn't really think about it.
And you don't think that was wrong?
No.
Let me ask a question.
I just moved it over, Gary.
I think that shows a lack of manners, Howard. No matter who's doing it, and no matter whose coat it is.
Here's where I think this is where you guys go wrong, and I'm gonna. This is where you guys go wrong. Listen to me, Ralph. Listen to me.
No, wait. Listen to me for a minute.
Wait, let me ask one question.
Let Ralph say something, and you'll go.
If you had just Gary. If you just walked over like you came screaming over at me with an attitude right away, and you just
totally disregarded what we just spoke about.
What do you think? I'm going to not get defensive? And
you just totally disregarded what we spoke about. There would be no need to run over and no need for any defensiveness if you behaved with manners.
Gary, if
you don't have them.
If it was anyone else, you would have said, "Hey, I was sitting there," or "That's where I wanted to sit. Can you sit over a seat?" But you were like. You piece of crap! Get out of here! You don't.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I said.
What did you say to him?
I didn't say anything like that. I said, "Why did you move my coat?" He immediately came back with some wise-ass response, and I attacked him after that.
Here. Get out! You said you're not part of the show. You don't belong.
I didn't say you're not part of the show. I said you don't belong in these two rows because you were giving me a hard time, and I decided that I didn't need to argue with you on an important night in my life.
I didn't realize you were producing the seating. If somebody had told me that, I would have checked.
What he's saying is that
I would have checked with you, Gary, to see where I could sit.
What he's saying,
I don't care where you sit. I'm just saying have some manners about it.
And you're so stupid. You picked the worst rows. The best seats were in the back where me and Robin ended up sitting anyway.
Yeah, that's right. Because the whole theater is 20 feet long, Ralph. I have awful seats.
What's the big deal? Why do you have to separate people? Why do you have to make that distinction?
It's not about separation. You're missing the point.
Ralph,
you're missing the point. It's not about separation. It's about where I was sitting.
Ralph, that's where you go wrong. Ralph, that's where you go wrong.
Push it on me because that's how you are.
Ralph, you're off base.
I'm not.
It was his screening. He invited who he wanted to.
I didn't know that.
Forget that he doesn't know that.
Why can't he make that distinction?
Forget that Ralph doesn't know that.
Why do you analyze that?
Gary didn't call and invite me. How do I know this?
The point is that if there's a sectioned off area, you ask first, am I supposed to be in a sectioned off area?
Well, he claims that he
Don told me to go sit there.
You don't have a problem with that. Right. You're saying there were two empty rows. Why do you have to move my seat?
Howard, there was a whole row. If Ralph had sat down in that row, I would have never blinked an eyelash.
Gary, seat I moved it over.
You know what this is? What? This is a bunch of misunderstandings, and neither one of them knows how to communicate.
And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you what it is. It's a culmination.
And John Isaac's a jerk off because that's not.
There's a way to conduct yourself.
Something else to me.
Ralph, anybody that doesn't agree with you is a jerk off.
That's right.
When have you ever,
the biggest jerk
Ralph,
off.
of all the confrontations you've ever had, when have you ever once admitted that you might have been wrong?
Never.
I'll think about it.
Hold on a second.
Wait, here's Scott Einziger. He was there.
Let me ask one thing.
Einziger, what happened that night? Straighten this out for me. I'm trying to. I know Ralph has personality conflicts. I'm trying to help him with it.
Ralph, don't call me a jerk off, man.
Well, why do you tell Gary one thing and then me something else?
Actually, that's not what I said to Gary. First of all, that was
Scott Einziger, the producer of the E! Show, who happened to be an eyewitness to this.
First of all, it was an incredibly uncomfortable moment.
Go ahead.
Basically, what Gary described is correct. I guess Ralph moved a jacket. Ralph, you were sitting on the arm of the chair, and
Gary questioned why Ralph was there.
How did he question? What did he say?
It was basically like...
Did he walk over in a huff?
Did he have an attitude? Was he gruff?
I will admit I walked over angry. There's no doubt about
Gary was angry, but I think that's based upon their history, that they don't like each other.
Right. And that's what's causing the problem.
And that's what I said to Gary, and I told you, Ralph, that you guys have so much baggage between each other. This was just...
That it became one more incident.
This is just more fuel.
Yeah. So Gary was in a position of power right there because Gary did set this whole thing up, and it was really intense. Ralph wasn't really sure what to do, but in that case, I think Ralph decided it was better to retreat, but was super angry to the point where I thought these guys were going to go at it for a moment.
Over a stupid chair.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's not over a stupid chair.
And it's one theater. Come on, guys.
No, Robert, but you can obviously see that that's not what it's about. It's not about a chair.
Yes, but that's what you were talking about.
No, it's about a lack of. It's about a lack of respect.
Scott's right.
Excuse me. Wait a minute. No. What they were talking about was a chair. They made it about their entire relationship.
Yes.
I still hold fast to the very. I still hold fast to the very simple
premise that you had a coat on a chair that you moved.
And you asked somebody. You just asked somebody.
It's a courtesy.
It's a courtesy.
If Ralph went to a movie somewhere, he wouldn't do that.
He's discourteous, and he's discourteous all the time. It really has nothing to do with you.
Right.
He just is a discourteous person.
Yeah, but he had enough.
I should just know Ralph is discourteous and learn to live with it?
No, I'm not saying learn to live with it. Say, Ralph, that was my seat. Don't move my coat. End of story.
Well, that's the way it started, but then Ralph immediately came up with attitude.
Back to him.
No, he yells at Ralph. Ralph yells, feels defensive, and starts yelling back.
But evidently, but Ralph has had similar problems. Right, Ralph?
Thank you, Robin.
Have you had similar problems? Did you have problems with Ralph? You and Ralph not get along?
Are you now going to give me a lesson in manners? You're somebody.
No, it's too late. Your mother missed the boat on that 20 years ago. I can't help you.
That's what I'm saying.
I can't teach you to be mannered now.
You are a person that I had to have a talk with about a year ago because I was doing all these things for the show, and you would never once said thank you to me. Never once.
What
I was helping you
show?
out with things. And you never once said thank you.
Ralph, let me ask you a question. How many things have I helped you with? How many things have I helped you with? Let's talk about the guy. Hold on. Let's talk about the guy who I got front row tickets to see Kiss to. Howard said it was okay to do it. Get you front row tickets to Kiss to. No, I got those for you, buddy. Howard said, if you need to get Ralph tickets, get them. I'm the one who called in a huge favor. I'm the one who got you in the front row.
Okay.
And you walk in the door, and I said, how was the concert? And your response to me was, it's really a concert that needs to be seen from farther back to get the full effect. Did that not happen, Ralph?
Gary, I don't...
That's what happened.
See, Gary, I don't even know you perceived it like that because I said thank you, and I said... I didn't say...
Thank you appeared to be an afterthought, and I always thank you. Ralph, anything you ask for, I try to get you. Here's another problem with Ralph. Yeah. When Ralph wanted those Kiss tickets, this is a typical Ralph move. Listen, he wanted tickets to go see Stone Temple Pilots or some concert.
Go ahead. Help me understand.
I told him to go see Peggy. He went to see Peggy, and he felt it got blown off.
Okay.
But everybody comes to me for tickets, and I can't get people tickets for every show every time.
Right. This ain't your job.
But Ralph comes to me, and it's just this funny attitude that he has. He says, listen, Kiss is my favorite band. I really want to see them. I want tickets, and I don't want crummy seats. If I can't have good seats, I don't want to go.
I didn't say
you certainly did.
You interpret, and you do that with everybody.
So why did you bother getting him seats then?
You put a spin on it.
Because I still, deep down inside, I think there's a nice guy hiding in there, and I wanted to help him. I knew that he loves Kiss.
Right.
I knew that meant a lot to him.
Right.
And I thought I could pull it off. And I said thank you. And Gary, you got me like that really cool Spider-Man
You see what he's saying?
I mean,
Ralph, you see what he's saying though?
What?
Attitude. Why you ask for stuff.
Hey.
Maybe there's something there.
Did you say that you wanted really good seats, and that if you couldn't get good seats, you didn't want them?
And what I said to you, Gary, was that I said, when you ask Howard for these, tell him that I'm not constantly asking for tickets and getting them. I have last few times I asked for tickets, I didn't get them. So I'd really, and I asked you like 2 months in advance. If there's anything you could do, can you just make sure that I get, can you make some kind of extra effort to make sure that I get good seats? And then
the kicker was, and if I don't get good seats, I'd rather not go.
I didn't say that.
Oh, yes, you did.
Yes, you
did.
Maybe
you said if I don't get good seats, it's not worth it to me.
You know what?
Well, you guys have a...
I probably did say that, Gary, because if I don't have good seats, what am I going to do? Get binoculars and watch the show?
What's the store treatment?
What?
He wants the store treatment.
No, Gary, I just said if you can get me good seats, get them. If not, don't worry about it. You know what I mean?
What were all the great things
that I have an attitude and want the stern treatment?
What were all the great things that you did for me that I didn't thank you for? I think I thank you every time you do something to help me. I know that you helped me do a design for my very short-lived T-shirt which I thanked you for, even though you misplaced it for 8 months.
You didn't pay me for the colors.
It's $19
for all those color copies.
$19 of color copies. I'd be more than happy to pay you back. I can't think of how many things I give you, how many things that I give to you that come in through here, or how I'm going to look at the things that you like, and I help you out.
But then it always falls apart. It's like this strained relationship. I always feel like I got to walk on eggs with you.
No, you just have
listen,
to.
Listen, I have to end this.
Hey, Ralph, just explain one more thing to me. The day that we came in and we had that fight about, that stuff being returned to Barney's, and you said you couldn't return it because they opened at 10 and you had work to do.
Right.
You were here till noon that day, doing nothing but walking around checking out the hot new interns.
No, I know I was.
What were you doing?
That's what you had to do.
No, but what were you?
You had to do that.
Forget the intern comment. Forget the intern comment. What were you doing that day?
I was checking out the interns from 8 to 10.
Right. And what were you doing from 10 on? That you couldn't run a block and a half away to return something that's your job to do.
No, Gary, I didn't. I left at 10.
You absolutely did not. Kathy and I both.
Why are you telling me what my job is?
Kathy and I both noticed that you were here in way more time than you needed to just be able to run over to Barney's, drop something off, and be back.
Gary, you don't know what I was doing. Why are you sitting there telling me what?
You weren't on a phone. You weren't sitting at a desk writing, and you didn't appear to be thinking very hard. That, to me, says that you're walking around chatting with people.
Why are you monitoring what I do?
Because you're affecting what I do in my office and how I run my people. That's
how?
Why. By taking somebody out of my office who could be answering the phone
an intern.
or working on an article or doing something and sending them out because you're just too goddamn lazy to do it.
No, it has nothing to do with me being lazy. See, you make that determination in your mind, and all of a sudden.
But then explain to me what you were doing that day that kept you from going over there.
I was busy with stuff.
Well, tell me what. I got you.
I had to get out to Howard's that day, actually.
Right, but you didn't get out there till much later. The time was there, Ralph.
No, I left at 10. I left the station at 10.
He didn't. Howard, he just didn't.
I did. And you know what, Gary? Even if I didn't, if I had other stuff to do.
What's the matter, Jackie?
Just what you keep saying, I definitely didn't. And even if I did, I didn't do that.
Listen,
even if I
Fran Drescher is here.
Well,
I'm very interested in speaking with her.
Yeah, she's hot.
Yeah, why aren't you here today, Ralph? You would love to come in when only the good-looking guests are here.
What's wrong with her?
What's in Fran Drescher?
No, Fran's good-looking.
Oh, I see.
Why is it? Fran's good-looking. Why isn't Ralph here today? He likes to meet the big stars.
Because I didn't want to see you.
For a year and a half, Ralph had to put makeup on us every day, and it was like his whole reason for living.
Right.
He was like Picasso with the makeup.
Right.
He hasn't been here in a year.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Now listen to me, stupid. I told you to listen to me.
There's a psychologist on the phone. I'd love to hear what he has to say, but I've got Fran here.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Wait, I want to explain this situation the other day. If I went to Kathy and I asked Kathy, I said, I have something that needs to be returned to Barney's. Is there anybody who can do it? And she said, sure, no problem. I'd love to get some of these people out of here or something like that. It was no problem.
You want to hear from a psychologist?
It was no problem to Kathy.
Let him talk about this.
It's a problem to me.
Is this Derek?
Yeah, but Gary, I don't know that.
Yeah. Let's hear what this guy has to say. Maybe there'll be some resolve.
And anytime I don't...
Shut up. We got to get to Fran.
I got to get to Fran Drescher. So,
Gary, let me ask you a question. If you need something run down the hall or typed up, do you do it yourself or do you ask somebody else to do it?
Ralph, this is my office, not your office.
Oh, Ralph, be quiet.
Ralph, you're digging a ditch. You're digging a ditch for yourself. It's Gary's office. He uses these interns.
It's like me going to your house and saying, I need my house cleaned. Get your maid over.
Staff, Ralph, if that's what you want.
Get your own staff. Get an intern.
I didn't tell an intern to do it.
What does the psychiatrist have to say?
Psychologist.
May I speak?
Even if I did.
Go ahead, Derek.
Howard, I used to do exit counseling for cults.
Yes. Go ahead.
And this is a classic example of a minor sociopath who is do anything for your love, affection, and recognition.
Okay, which one are you talking about?
I'm talking about Ralph.
Oh, okay.
Gary, you're a normal, decent human being. You are never going to make any headway with Ralph.
Oh, you are an idiot.
What do you mean by a psychopath?
I am not an idiot.
Sociopath.
Who is this, Dr. Seuss?
No. You can liken this whole thing to Howard as a guru and all the interns, all Ralph, John, Gary, Fred, Jackie, not Robin. Robin's special. But all of these people are the inner circle of this cult, and it's the Howard Stern cult. And Howard, you play him like a violin. It's beautiful. It's the best entertainment of the 20th century.
All right, let me say something here, Ralph. Disregarding even for a minute what this brilliant psychologist has said, and he's right. He's right on the money.
Dr. Seuss.
Do you feel? And I'm going to ask you a question because I got to get to Fran Drescher.
I have to ask you a question. Do you feel
that you are? Do you feel? You want to joke or you want to? Because you got a personality problem, pal.
The lack of it.
Do you feel?
No, he's got too much of a personality.
That you have a higher elevated position if you were to put a map of the organization of this show,
yes,
do you feel you really have to answer to Gary?
Do I feel I have to answer to Gary? In what respect?
Okay, I'll give you a question. Gary comes to you and says, I don't want you in the air studio unless you ask me first. And then a day later you walk into the studio disregarding everything Gary just said. Do you feel that he is in any way...
That is not right to do.
It's not right. Have you done that?
Yes.
Okay.
And
so
I've
then
apologized for it.
Okay.
And I don't do that anymore.
Well, you're not here often enough, but you apologize for it. You did it several times, not just once.
Okay. So you would say that really you have no respect for Gary. True?
No.
Be honest. You don't have that much respect for him.
He's got minimal respect for me.
You know, I really think that where Ralph has the problem is he doesn't think Gary understands him. So he has to go over Gary's
And it's not Gary's job to understand Ralph.
No, it's not his job to understand. But that's what motivates Ralph. It's not that he doesn't respect Gary. If Gary understood him, he would listen. But he feels he couldn't possibly make Gary
but he doesn't make the right decisions. So
now, isn't it true?
Not for Ralph.
Don't you think sometimes in dealing with, let's say, the E! Show, or... I'm starting to understand what might be the problem, or any of these people, they don't seem to understand you?
Right.
Do you find that? Do you find that, let's say, publicists don't seem to understand you, Scott Einziger doesn't seem to understand how important you are? Do you start to feel that various people...
They don't get that he knows something they don't.
Right. Do you ever feel like they don't get it?
Sometimes, yes.
Okay. Now, here's what we got to do. I think I've solved your problem. You have to now assume that they get it. That's it. There's the answer to your problem.
Howard, there's
How do you feel? Do you feel better?
Part of it too.
What is that, Derek?
Give Ralph a title.
Ah, you have hit on it exactly.
Yes. Gary is the producer. He has more public profile.
Thank you, Derek. Ralph, I'm going to give you a title right now.
This should be good.
All right? You are my douchebag. No, you are going to be called... You are my valet. How was that?
That's no. Thank you. No,
you don't want to be that.
Valet.
I'm going to come up with the title for you. Derek is absolutely right. Okay.
Yes.
He needs a position.
You'll be above Gorillo, below Gary. Okay.
Yes.
You're going to have a position.
Howard, I'm just going to say one thing in closing.
Well, you know what part of
hold on.
I got to get to Fran Drescher.
Because there's another part of this puzzle.
All the jokes aside, because I'm going to go back to the office.
Go ahead.
All the jokes aside, I'm a lot more calm now. Let's just do it here on the air so we get out of the way forever. We're never going to get along. We're never going to like each other. We admit that. Let's just be civil to each other when we see each other. I don't want to have some uncomfortable thing when you come in again where we go in a room and talk.
Handle yourself professionally.
No, but Ralph, we're just going to say we'll just be
that's it, Gary. That's what.
Gary, you don't want any discussion.
That's what upset you.
Yeah, it's done. It's done.
It's that I've always liked you. I never.
And I like you.
All right,
but
no side agreed. No side discussions. No.
You agreed not to get along.
Whatever you need from me, you call me and you let me know. If you need something for Howard, call me and you let me know. But we'll just leave it at that.
Good. Ralph, fair enough?
Fine.
The other part of this problem, though, is that he does have such direct access to you.
Yes.
He has the hotline to Howard, so he can ignore anything else that's going on.
It's not that he can ignore it. It just confuses Ralph.
All right, so what are you saying?
Because he does have this direct access to Howard at some point. You know, he works directly with Howard.
He has to have that.
And
Right
for
on the money,
Howard.
Robin.
And then at another time, he's supposed to go through Gary.
So there's conflict.
Yeah.
Ralph, can you figure out how to handle Gary? In other words, how to be diplomatic? What is it, John? I've got to go to Fran Drescher.
I know you do.
I've got to end
she
this.
Looks great.
Yeah.
But Ronnie just called. He can't talk now because he's got people in his car.
Right.
But he does want to add to this because he has plenty of stories of Ralph.
Okay. Well, all right. So here is the deal.
Rob was making a valid point there.
All right. Whatever. Listen, I got to stop with all the valid points. I got to stop. Only because if Fran Drescher wasn't here, I would go. This would be a 4-hour show. I would be fascinated.
This is better than Jackie and Ronnie.
Right. This is fantastic. I'm going to put this one. I'm going to stop this. I'm going to put this on hold.
Yeah, it's not going to go away, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, right.
I'm not going to get any less angry in an hour.
Right. And what I'm going to do is, what I'm going to say is this. You two should not even talk about this privately.
Well, you know,
because
Howard,
you've already, it's boring.
Howard?
Yeah.
Kathy's in the back, and she said Gary and Ralph have both been talking to her about it, both saying how they were going to beat each other up about this.
Right. I've heard it too.
We both were so angry. Right. We both wanted to
tape all conversations. All right. Thank you, Ralph, and thank you, Gary, and thank you, Derek.
Thank you, Jackie. Don't take any crap.
Right. All right. I have to end it because Fran Drescher is here, and this is crazy. I can't do a show for 12 hours.
Well, it was great.
Yeah. It was great.
All I want to say is that last year I used to fight with everybody. You notice Gary's fought with everybody on the staff so far.
Well, whatever. Ralph's having a lot of problems too, so I got a staff out of control. All right, I got to take a break, and then Fran Drescher is here.
Yeah.
Talk about problems. Fran's got problems too.
She'll explain it all.
She'll let her explain.
I'm
Derek
shocked that she's here because I said, "Oh my God, Fran's messed up her life, and now she can't come and do the show."
No, Fran's got balls.
All right.
She knows how to explain stuff away.
Good for her.
She knows how to deal with me. All right, we'll be back right after this.
We'll return.